Toby Holloran, thank you so much for joining me on Channels Business Global. There is a saying, old habits die hard, and it appears to be that case even during a pandemic, because the Netflix recent subscription numbers weren't as what people suspected. Do you think this is likely to be the trend over the next year or so for them?
Well, looking forward, we still expect Netflix to grow. So currently it's around 208 million subscribers. We expect them to finish the year on closer to 220 million. But of course, one reason why Q1 may have been slightly weaker for Netflix is something which they've recently introduced or began phasing out, which is free trials. So previously, free trials were available to lots of new customers. So if a consumer was signing up, say, in the run-up to Christmas, then they would have a free trial, so then they wouldn't convert to a paying subscriber until Q1. However, we expect partly because of that, the Q1 was slightly weaker this year. Additionally, of course, last year Q1 was the most successful it ever had, driven by the increase in lockdowns, subscriptions because of lockdown. But generally speaking, moving forward, we think it will continue to grow, in particular because of the large amount of money it's planning to invest in content over the next year. It's suggested, if COVID permitting once again, that if things go to plan, it will invest $17 billion in content this financial year.
We've been talking about Netflix, and especially for our viewers in Nigeria, they will know over the past 6 months or so, there's been a flurry of old titles, new titles, Netflix commissioned original content. And now in the next coming quarters, Netflix are going to be spending a lot of money commissioning lots of Indian content. What is it? What is the interest from the emerging markets?
Well, if we look at India, for example, that's like 1.3, 1.4 billion people. But in terms of Netflix subscriptions, it's one of its smaller markets. So we expect it's less than 3 million. So that is a huge addressable market. And India in particular has seen a recent surge in internet accessibility, driven in particular by the disruptive operator Reliance Jio. But currently, we expect there's around more than 700 million users with internet access in India, primarily through mobile. So while fixed broadband penetration is fairly low, it's still a massive potential market to then increase Netflix subscribers. And India was one of the markets where Netflix launched its mobile-only subscription offer. That was like less than half of the price of its kind of standard basic offer. So that's one way to then appeal. So that's a massive untapped base. And Netflix is really trying to push into that. So for example, towards the end of last year, it did Streamfest, which gave its everyone across India a weekend of free access to Netflix content to really drive that up. And then also looking at, say, sub-Saharan Africa, that's a population of more than 1 billion people. So that's a massive market, especially where things such as mobile payments are available. So Netflix also trialed the mobile payment plan and mobile pricing in South Africa, for example. So again, trying to really tap into that market. Because again, in sub-Saharan Africa, we expect it's got fewer than 1 million subscribers. Yeah. So that's less than 0.5% of its overall subscriber base. So that is a large potential market.
Absolutely. We know the digital scramble is ongoing in Africa. Before I let you go, Toby, I want to ask you a question. Besides streaming, what would you say is the outlook for online consumer trends? I've been speaking about this earlier on in the show. Although e-commerce has obviously surged during the pandemic, a lot of the high street towns that had been ghost towns over the past few months are reporting a spike in footfall.
Yes, so one thing in, say, the UK, for example, non-essential retail only reopened on April 12th. So it's little more than 3 weeks. And that was a long time where particularly consumers who are less internet savvy and might want to be doing some of that shopping. So things like clothes shopping, for example, that they may not be able to buy any new clothes for quite a while just because they're not too familiar with the internet. And another aspect, of course, as well, is as the high streets start to reopen, other things that will reopen as well, like cinemas, which are quite a big part of consumer enjoyment. And one trend we've noticed in particular is the growth of spending on online digital video. So as well as the growth in subscription video, there's also that. So we expect that might then dip a bit compared to 2020, as consumers are then able to start going to the cinema again, because we've got big cinema hits coming out this year, like Black Widow or No Time to Die, for example. So that we expect, due to the cinema, there might be a slight downward trend in digital video purchases and rentals, but that there might then be an uptick in physical video.
Absolutely, we'll have to wait and see. You said next year, I'm hoping this year, I'm hoping next month. I'm really hoping to get some popcorn and get in front of the big screen on the 17th of May. But thank you so much, Toby Holloran, Research Manager at Ampere Analysis. Thank you for joining me on Channels Business Global. Sadly, that's all we have time for today, but do get in touch with your comments and suggestions. I'll see you at the same time next week for more in-depth business analysis on Channels Business Global. Goodbye.